Coming up on Tech News Today, Facebook launching autoplay video ads. Is it bad as it sounds? Also, Amazon buying a mobile payments company. What are they going to do with that? And the most popular, I don't know if they're the best apps of 2013. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, December 17th, 2013. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free 2-week trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use offer code TNT12. And by ProXPN. ProXPN is a virtual private network that allows you to use the internet the way it should be, anonymously and without oversight. For 20% off your new account, go to proxpn.com/twit and use the code TNT. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Maya Zakhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show where we take a look at the most important stories in the tech world, put them in some context for you, starting with the top 10 stories of the day in the news fuse. Facebook confirmed it will start rolling out promoted videos to users of its news feed on desktop and mobile. The campaign starts with mini trailers for the forthcoming film Divergent. The ads will automatically play when they appear on the screen, but the sound will be muted unless a user clicks on it.
Italian newspapers are reporting that Amazon has required GoPago, maker of iOS and Android mobile apps, to prepay for goods before picking them up in a store and also give retailers point-of-sale system to process those orders. GoPago was founded in 2009. It's based in Silicon Valley, but was started by Italian co-founders. It's not clear if those founders or other GoPago staff will join Amazon or if this is just an acquisition for technology only.
President Barack Obama will meet with executives from Google, Apple, and other tech companies to find ways to improve the healthcare.gov website. Eric Schmidt, Tim Cook, Facebook's Sheryl Sandberg, and Twitter's Dick Costolo are expected to be in attendance. These powerful people will also discuss the impact of, that NSA surveillance thing on tech companies.
You know what? Here's something to get the president's conversation with those tech titans rolling here. U.S. District Court Judge Richard Leon issued a preliminary injunction against the United States, ordering the NSA to stop collecting phone metadata and destroy any metadata collected on 2 plaintiffs who brought the case. The order was suspended, though, as the U.S. plans to appeal the injunction. So just to recap, only 2 people affected. The order is not in force, and the Department of Justice is appealing. Judge Leon did write a compelling opinion arguing why a 1979 case that allowed police to capture several phone numbers for 2 weeks should not be considered precedent to 5 years of capturing the metadata of every call placed by hundreds of millions of people and counting.
Price quotes for business customers are starting to come in for new Mac Pros, which helps at least more closely guess what U.S. retail pricing is going to look like. For example, let's go high-end. A customer who buys an 8-core Mac Pro with 32 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of storage, will pay a base of $39.99, as in $4,000, plus a $1,500 processor upgrade, plus a $400 RAM upgrade, plus a $300 storage upgrade, which comes to about $6,199. At the, of course, lower end, the $29.99, as in $3,000 base Mac Pro, comes in with a quad-core Intel Xeon processor, 12 gigs of RAM, and a dual AMD FireCore D300 graphics.
And you can use all that to watch iTunes Best because Apple released its Best of iTunes list for the year. Candy Crush was the most downloaded free app for iPhone and iPad for 2013. The top-selling TV season was Breaking Bad's final season. The list also includes Apple's editors' picks. Apple's pick for TV show of the year, Breaking Bad.
Google and HP have already stopped selling Chromebook 11s and have now issued a recall for 145,000 of the defective power chargers that caused the halt in sales. Chromebook 11 owners should stop using their current charger and contact Google for a free replacement charger. No word on when Chromebook 11s will go back on sale.
Forget Google. Forget Apple. Samsung is launching its own Android gaming controller called the Samsung Smartphone Gamepad. which is exactly what it is. It officially supports screens from 4 inches to 6.3 inches. The gamepad uses Bluetooth 3.0 and NFC. Compatibility is described as working with devices running Android 4.1 and up, though optimized for 4.3. The gamepad is currently available in select European markets. The company says it'll come to additional countries in the coming weeks.
Facebook unveiled a donate button, making it easier for nonprofits with pages to collect contributions. Users can enter payment details or use what Facebook already has on file. Facebook will not collect a fee on the donations, but they do get the side benefit of getting your payment info updated or added to your account. That could give a boost to in-game purchases and the autofill with Facebook feature.
Opera's Coast web browser for iPad just got an update to version 2.0. Now, the app gets rid of back and forward buttons in favor of gestures. Coast now features a media player that you can use from the iPad's lock screen. When you encounter a PDF on the web, Coast lets the user decide which app opens that PDF. There's also the ability to select your own wallpaper in the app using images from your photo roll.
This episode of Tech News Today brought to you by Squarespace.com, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. I've used them for years on a couple of my sites, but last night I was setting up a brand new site. I hadn't done that from scratch in a while. And we're always talking about how they're constantly improving their platform. Those new templates are freaking gorgeous. I mean, it was actually hard for me to wrap my head around which one I wanted because there's so many different good designs there. I almost felt like I don't know if my site deserves to look this good, but it does, and so does yours. It's easy to use, too. You got 24 hours a day, 7 days a week support if you need it, and it starts at just $8 a month, including a free domain name if you sign up for a year. So every design automatically includes a unique mobile experience that matches the overall style of your website. Even their code is beautiful. Search engine optimized, hosting included. What's not to love? Start a free 2-week trial with no credit card required. Start building your website. When you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure to use the offer code TNT12 to get 10% off and to show your support for Tech News Today. We thank Squarespace for their continuing support of Tech News Today. Squarespace, everything you need to create an exceptional website. Joining us now to discuss the stories of the day, very happy to have Will Harris, channelflip.com, with us again on a spanking new fast internet connection, too. Looking good, Will.
Hey, Tom. Hey, guys. Nice to be here. It's very exciting to have an internet connection that is as fast as 8 meg down, would you believe?
Well, for those who are tempted to possibly mock that number, that's a really good number, and you're looking good too. Extreme has been, I mean, knock on wood, solid.
Well, Tom, I'd like to think that I'm looking good not just due to the quality of my internet connection, but due to my stunningly, English charm. But let's move on from that.
You'd like to think that, wouldn't you? Anyway.
The thing is, now we know it's true because we see you in perfect perfect stream.
Oh, you sweetheart, thank you.
All right, let's talk about Facebook and autoplay video ads. We don't need to go into what we heard it in the news fuse, right? Promoted videos, they show up in your stream. Limited number of people right now, so you may not see them for a while. But the way it works is they've got a video out that shows it on mobile. You open up your news feed, you're scrolling along, you see the video playing, but it doesn't make any noise. And then if you're interested, you click on it, and the video relaunches with the audio so that you can hear it. Now, in this Divergent trailer that they're showing is sort of the first example of this. You don't really hear a voiceover or a big loud ad. You just hear a little bit of background and there's on-screen text. So, Will, does this annoy you, this idea of video autoplay ads in your Facebook timeline? Or are you like, hey, it's Facebook. What do you expect? They're going to annoy you.
Yeah, so I haven't seen it yet, right? I guess they haven't rolled it out either to the UK in particular or me specifically. I have to say it doesn't bother me. I think the fact if it was, audio on, then you'd obviously be pretty mad and it would be a pretty horrendous experience. As it is, I don't feel like it's an awful lot different than having like an animated GIF as like an ad on the side of a page. Like if I'm scrolling down, any number of web pages, there's a little, animated GIF of like a little box ad or something that's floating around. I don't really see it as any different from that. All I can really hope is that Facebook can use its, the amount of stuff that it knows about me to actually try and give me something that I'm interested in. Because if I'm scrolling through my nose feed, Yeah, my newsfeed. If I'm scrolling through,
news
we're
for
back
those.
on that again. If I'm going through my newsfeed and I get, an auto-playing video ad in the background for, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, great, I will totally check that out. If I get it for some ridiculous rom-com that I couldn't care less about, then I will be annoyed by it. In fact, I've started clicking those buttons next to ads in the newsfeed saying, don't show me this ad again, in the hope that it will try and train it. So I can only hope that they have a little bit of good learning behind it.
I've seen this in action on the Google Plus app. Actually, I can show it off right now. But it's not the same. It is an animated GIF, but it's the same kind of experience, right? It just appears in your feed. When they first rolled this out to the mobile apps, I expected to be really annoyed by it. And in the end, it didn't really bother me that much. In fact, usually when I saw that little animated logo on top of it anyways, I wanted to see what it did when it was moving. So this saved me a step. I guess it's a little different, though, when it's an ad, because people are just kind of averse to ads a lot of the times.
Because Google Plus one's not an ad, right?
Well,
That's
no. In this case, it's an animated GIF that anybody can post or whatever, or auto awesome as they say. But it's kind of the same experience, right? It's intermixed and automatically plays for you inside your feed.
I saw my first Facebook autoplay video. I guess it was just a couple days ago, over the weekend, and it happened to be like a video that a friend of mine posted, and I was like, I'm actually kind of glad that autoplayed, because the cover photo wasn't all that exciting, and I probably just never would have looked at it. So I was like, well, as far as the first autoplay goes, it was a success. I even posted about it. However, it was not an ad. I'm with Will that the audio is the most annoying part of any web ad for me. So if audio isn't going to play by default, it's probably not going to ruin my experience. But I'm feeling like more and more, my newsfeed, every time I load it after not being on Facebook for more than a couple of hours, you've got the so-and-so likes this company right at the top of the newsfeed. I find more and more I'm a little annoyed by all of that. So if those sorts of ads that are already kind of in my face start being, more and more motion ads, even if I can't hear them, I don't think that's a good thing for my experience.
The other thing is, how is it going to impact loading times? Because if you got these videos on there and you're scrolling by and your connection starts choking out, let's say you have like an 8 megabit connection down, right? And you're like, wow, I don't know if I can have all these videos coming and loading at the same time.
Or on your mobile phone, you've got a data plan, right? It's eating up your data plan.
You got your bandwidth caps, right? So that's the other. You don't necessarily want that experience to be hampered, because if you just want to look at Facebook and you actually are an engaged user and you want to check every single day, and if you have that experience and you can't actually do that because the video ads are making you reach those caps, or it's making sluggish performance issues affect your PC or Mac, that could be a problem. The other thing is, this video player appears to be Flash. Flash sometimes can cripple old machines anyway. Not something that Facebook is really into. They seem to be very inclusive when it comes to people's experience with Facebook. So as long as they take into considerations your minimum requirements, like my bandwidth cap is, maybe it'll be all right.
But I think there's a really interesting element, which is just when you're thinking about I can't imagine if you're making videos to go on the Facebook ads, you've got to make the first 2 or 3 seconds of that video absolutely super compelling, because as you scroll past it, you can't just have a small bit of text or something. The first couple of frames of that video need to be in your face, watch me now, otherwise people are just going to scroll past it, and I can't work out if that is going to get more or less annoying.
I want to talk about this weird Amazon thing. Go Pago. Did they buy it? Did they not? What's the story, IS?
Well, I also want to call it Go Pay Go. So I'm going to call it Go Pay Go. So reports are saying that Amazon might have bought a mobile payment app maker by the name of Go Pay Go. They let consumers on iOS and Android buy goods before they pick them up at a store. They also have the ability to let retailers have a point-of-sale system that integrates into those orders. Now, a couple of Italian newspapers, I'm going to butcher the names, I apologize, La Repubblica and Corriere della Sera, say Amazon has already acquired GoPayGo. Now, their source is GoPayGo's CTO, Vincenzo Di Nicola. And the Wall Street Journal says Nicola said his comments were only partly accurate. Now, GoPayGo CEO Leo Rocco and Amazon spokespeople both declined to comment to TechCrunch and the Wall Street Journal. So maybe Amazon bought it, maybe they're in talks to buy it, but there's definitely something going on between these two companies. Well, assuming Amazon did pick up GoPayGo, what do you expect Amazon to do with it?
So as far as I understand, right, like until today, until looking at this, I'd never heard of GoPaygo, right? Has anybody else ever heard of GoPaygo?
Yeah,
This Italian
I hadn't heard of
company?
them either, yeah.
Right. So apparently what they allow you to do, right, is to pay for stuff online and go and pick it up. I don't sort of see how that is amazingly revolutionary. And maybe I'm being really stupid, but I don't know why, Amazon has already got a system, right, where you can buy stuff on Amazon and they'll deliver it, for example, to a locker, right, which will be in London where I am. There's absolutely gazillions of them, and you can, within a few miles, you can go and pick stuff up at your Amazon locker. And I don't really see how this is doing anything different. What I do think is interesting is that clearly, the source for this thing is the CTO, right, Vincenzo, and you just know that Vincenzo has made this comment out of turn, and that someone is going absolutely nuts. They've both the CEO and Amazon have both declined to comment to the Wall Street Journal, and you just know that they're sitting there thinking, oh, we had an embargo, we had this all planned, we had it organized. That guy Vincenzo, what a muppet. You just know that's how it's working right now.
I think the idea with GoPaygo, from what I've read here, is like with Best Buy here in the U.S., for instance, you can order online, go pick up in the store in some cases. And I think what GoPaygo enables is more stores to be able to do that without having to set up the whole system themselves the way Best Buy did. So it's less revolutionary for you, the user. It's more that you're shopping somewhere and suddenly they're like, oh, I could pick it up in a store. So I could totally see Amazon adding that to its wealth of options, right? Not everything Amazon sells comes from Amazon. Some of the stuff is fulfilled by Amazon. Some comes from a third party, and Amazon's just enabling the transaction. So if Amazon could say, hey, you can have this shipped by Amazon Prime. You can have it shipped overnight. You can have it shipped the same day. Or you could, if you're just going to be out and about running errands, you could pick it up at this store. I think that fits very nicely in the way Amazon wants to give you as much choice as possible in shopping.
It reminds me a bit of Amazon Source, that program where Amazon is allowing independent bookstores to sell Kindles, and they receive a cut of any ebooks that are sold on those particular Kindle devices. It's almost like Amazon saying, "Look, we want you to use our service, use Amazon Payments to have the transactions happen. If they can have a point of sale system, something that competes with Square, even. So if you go to a store and you can go to the local mom and pop computer shop that's like on Lakeville around here, if they're using Amazon Payments, that might be something intriguing because it's competing against companies like Square and PayPal and other point of sale systems."
Yeah, I don't know if that's something that I buy into, though, because if I go to a local store, like the point... no, I'm losing myself in my thread, which is that if I go to a local store, if I'm paying with an Amazon account, the Amazon account is just being charged to the credit card that I physically have with me when I go to the local store. So I'm not quite sure how that is making my life.
You got to think of it the other way around for it to make any sense. It's I'm at home, I'm shopping, I want the thing, and instead of paying for shipping, I could buy it at the local store, and I'm like, oh, well, I have to run out and grab milk this afternoon anyway, so I can just pick it up and I'll have it tonight.
That's true. I think it probably, for me, is undercut, though, by the fact that with Amazon Prime, you can basically have anything you want in the world by lunchtime tomorrow for free.
Right, and you're
so I'm not quite sure why I would ever have to put on pants and leave the house if I didn't have to.
No one should ever have to put on pants if they don't want to.
I mean, it's kind of like, what is the service, eBay Now, where you can, get something brought to you from, let's say, something like Best Buy. Am I thinking of the right product, eBay Now? It's in certain markets?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's sort of like, it seems to me that Amazon is, well, they don't have a retail store experience yet, but they certainly have a payment experience. You can get everything online. So if there are those certain customers that are like, well, but I really like, I just want to go into the store later and just get all that stuff. But hey, maybe there's always a long line at the grocery around 6 p.m. when you're going to be there. You're at least like, it's almost like you're jumping part of the line by just setting everything up ahead of time.
All right, Cisco's been trying to get into more and more enterprise level stuff. We think of them as the router company, but they do a whole lot more than that. And they just picked up a company called Collaborate.com.
Yeah, which is that's a pretty great URL. Collaborate.com, the company is based in Boston, actually. They develop mobile tools for document sharing, task management, team communication. Sound familiar? It's a bit of a saturated market. Cisco said in a blog post that the acquisition is going to help it better put together mobile collaboration and cloud computing tools. What's nice about Collaborate is it's not just another Dropbox or Evernote or Box or that sort of thing. It's designed to work with existing infrastructure, with email, third-party cloud services that people are already using to create what they call enterprise work streams. So it's really about building out what a bunch of people in a team might be using and then figure out how they can better communicate with each other. Cisco says wants to build better mobile collaboration tools. Collaborate.com engineers will become part of Cisco's collaboration technology group. That's WebEx, that's video conferencing tools. And I think it's probably, comes at a good time. At Cisco, collaboration revenue was up 1% from a year ago. It's in fiscal Q1. We're looking at $1.03 billion. So it's a big money maker. And they have the most market share in the telepresence and web conferencing market, but you have lower cost alternatives. That's not a lot of growth over last year. So you can see how Cisco's wanting to beef up what they offer. So it's, a lot more attractive than, I don't know, a Google Hangout type of a thing. Cisco also recently refreshed their video phone, their telepresence, and their WebEx servers. So you've got things like Google Drive and Evernote and Dropbox and all of these tools that people might be using, some of them free, some of them not. Will, do you think that Cisco's smart to build an enterprise solution that piggybacks on these existing services?
Yeah, so I think, Cisco is obviously the sort of brand name leader, right, in video phone, telepresence, those kind of things. And it makes sense to start to build out collaboration tools around that for sure. I think where Cisco has increasingly got a problem is, as you pointed out, right, the fact that sort of consumer grade services are getting better and better and better. So on the collaboration side, you've got Google Drive, you've got Evernote, you've got Dropbox, you've got flying the flag for Britain. There's a great company called Huddle, which is based in Silicon Valley with a couple of great English founders who do amazingly secure collaboration. I think Cisco's got a major problem, though, which is that things like Google Hangouts, things like Skype are just getting better and better and better. And, the whole program, right, is done over Skype to an extremely high professional level rather than some ridiculously expensive Cisco solution. And that's a big problem for Cisco when it has, $1 billion of its business is in this area. I think if Cisco has somewhere that it can work on, it's the fact that these consumer-grade services, the Google Hangouts, the Skype, etc., are increasingly NSA-tastic, right? I think everyone is worried that all their Hangouts and their video conferences are being listened to and eavesdropped. If Cisco can take its amazing internet security and router knowledge, if it can pair that up with its web conferencing, its security knowledge, then creating a super secure NSA-proof collaboration platform could be a good move for it. But I don't know whether that's something that's on their cards.
A little bit of a wake-up call for Microsoft as well, that Cisco is starting to inch closer to their side of the business. And likewise, Microsoft owns Skype, so they've been inching towards Cisco's side of the business as well. I think that's where Microsoft needs to pay attention, because it's where they have a big advantage and where I think they can compete more effectively than trying to be in the consumer space. But maybe it's smart for them to try both and see which one works out. But this is Cisco saying, hey, Microsoft Office 360, 365, not Office, the gaming version of Office 360, Office 365, we could come after you, possibly. Very interesting. All right, let's take a quick break. Thank our sponsor for today's show, ProXPN, a global virtual private network. What is that, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked, or I'm glad I pretended like you asked, because you need it, especially if you're out and about using open Wi-Fi. My goodness, every mother in the land, before they send their children out with their laptop, should say, don't use open Wi-Fi. It's not safe unless you use VPN and among your other security precautions, of course. VPN has a 512-bit encryption tunnel, and ProXPN works by OpenVPN so that you don't have your data out there where anybody can sniff it. You can use that airport Wi-Fi, you can use that hotel Wi-Fi, you can use that coffee shop Wi-Fi, and not have to worry as much about who's going to see what you're doing. Also, don't have to worry about ISP seeing what you're doing, or whoever's spying on the ISP seeing what you're doing. Can bypass geographical restrictions. And there's a ProXPN app for Android in the Google Play Store that supports OpenVPN. World-class customer support. Steve Gibson gave it a great review on Security Now. So go to proxpn.com/twit for more information and to sign up. ProXPN premium accounts are normally $9.95 a month or $74.95 for an entire year. We've got a special offer. Use the code TNT to receive 20% off for the lifetime of your account. That's less than $5 a month on the yearly plan. And if you're not satisfied, you can cancel within 7 days for a full refund. So go to proxpn.com/twit, sign up with the code TNT. ProXPN accepts payments through Visa, PayPal, and now Bitcoin as well. We thank ProXPN for their support of Tech News Today. Speaking of the NSA, we mentioned that U.S. District Court Judge Richard Leon issued a preliminary injunction Monday in the case brought against the United States government by legal activists Larry Klayman and Charles Strange. Klayman is an activist who's well known. Strange is the father of a cryptologist technician who was killed in Afghanistan. Judge Leon ruled that the NSA program collecting metadata on telephone calls appears to violate the Fourth Amendment ban on unreasonable search and seizure. He also said that in the case for the preliminary injunction, remember, this is not a trial of the legality or constitutionality. It's about a preliminary injunction. He said the Justice Department failed to demonstrate a single case where collecting the information had helped to fend off terrorist attacks. He's like, it does not seem that gathering this data is time sensitive, so it doesn't make sense why they would have to gather it all so they could get to it quickly. Leon issued the preliminary injunction, ordered the data on the two plaintiffs destroyed, but he suspended it pending the Department of Justice's appeal because it's a national security issue. Here's what he wrote in his opinion. I cannot imagine a more indiscriminate and arbitrary invasion than this systematic and high-tech collection and retention of personal data on virtually every single citizen for the purpose of querying it and analyzing it without judicial approval. He discounted the usual precedent that's used to justify this. It's what was used in the secret FISA courts, Smith versus Maryland. That's the one that allowed a pen register. He wrote, the ubiquity of phones has dramatically altered the quantity of information that is now available, and more importantly, what that information can tell the government about people's lives. I cannot possibly navigate these uncharted Fourth Amendment waters using as my North Star a case that predates the rise of cell phone. He points out that Smith versus Maryland was 2 weeks of collecting a few phone numbers, not even stored after the case. So it's different in so many different ways. Injunction goes to the appeals court. It may go all the way to the Supreme Court. It may be considered only to apply to these two individuals. It may end up being meaningless. What do you think of Judge Leon's reasoning about this, Will?
So I think this is really interesting, and it's really easy to get slightly overexcited about a U.S. federal judge saying to the NSA, you have to dismantle this program. It's against the Fourth Amendment. It's really important, I think, as you've gone to pains to point out, that this is very preliminary. And is only the opinion of a U.S. district court judge, right? The idea that someone in the district court is going to have any authority over the NSA at this stage is not a great one. But I think if you look at the opinion that Judge Richard Leon has written, it's really well thought out, it's really well reasoned, and it provides a great basis for Clayton and the other plaintiff to head to the Supreme Court. And it seems on the back of his opinion, it seems like this could go all the way to the Supreme Court and have a really decent hearing. I think it's really interesting to see Leon issue a really interesting, well thought out opinion. It's, I think being quite radical in suggesting that Smith and Maryland is not actually a good precedent, and quite sensible really to say that actually that predates cell phones. It really sort of predates the internet as a serious tool of data collection. And I think this is a great first step, and it's a great setup for what is sure to be a few years of legal table tennis over this.
Ayaz, I know you're not a constitutional scholar or lawyer.
I did take con law in school.
Come on, Ayaz. You can totally nail this. You've got this.
Yeah, I've got some things to say. Well, you made some excellent points. Well, you studied law back in Oxford, didn't you?
Oh man, back in the day, don't hold me to that.
He's not the only one here. So
not the only legal scholar today.
Yeah, the thing is, the Supreme Court gets to decide what's constitutional and not constitutional at the end of the day, and this seems like something that needs to get pushed up to that level. Like you guys have mentioned a bunch of times, this is really early. So to be like, oh, something major has happened, it's like not necessarily. So hang on to your party favors right now, but it's actually a good first step. There is this idea of stare decisis in courts where you don't want to upset precedents that have been set a long time ago. But every now and then, if you have a court that is made up of enough, they sometimes are called activist judges, they can decide to read things differently as time has moved on. Now, the current Chief Justice, Justice Roberts, in the Supreme Court is what's known as a traditionalist, not exactly somebody who thinks of the Constitution necessarily as like a living document. Sometimes is really stuck to the old words of what's in there, but that court could go any which way, right? That's the whole point. And the thing is, what a Chief Justice gets to do, let's assume the Supreme Court gets this. Let's say they actually rule in favor of this same decision. Let's assume that. The Chief Justice can kind of decide at the end which side he wants to be on so he can write the opinion. And in that written opinion, he can have a lot of words that make it kind of take the teeth out of it. So it's going to take a long time to see how this shakes out, but we got a long way before we can go, wow, the NSA is going to get what they deserve. So hang tight.
I like the idea that John Roberts is not an activist judge and doesn't really see the Constitution as a living document like the Founding Fathers were all sat there like writing the Constitution on their cell phones, just tapping it out on BBM like, yeah, First Amendment, totally got this. You know, you've got to have a little bit of wiggle room, right?
OMG, no search and seizure, LOL.
The original.
Yeah, that's
the T9 amendment, excuse me.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about this. Let's get into a little happier material. It's that time of year to look back on the best and brightest of the past year, and Nielsen's got some of its year-end data out. Sarah, what are we seeing there?
Yes, along with a lot of other companies, is sort of 2013 retrospective type stuff. But Nielsen has some interesting data over the last year. It shows, I'll point out a few things, 65% of American cell phone users now own smartphones. Well, that number does not surprise me at all, but it wasn't too long ago that it was well under half. 29% of U.S. households have at least one tablet. With about 115 million U.S. households, that looks like about roughly 33 million tablets in American homes. That's pretty healthy. Apple had a 41% share of the smartphone OS market, 52% for Android. So they're sort of neck and neck, but Android is definitely has the majority there. If you say, well, these are just Nielsen ratings, what about some other scores? Recent Comscore ratings as well pretty much puts the U.S. smartphone data in the same place. That's just a little over 50% for Android, 40.6 for Apple. So, smartphones and tablets, okay, they're more prevalent than ever. Of course, these are U.S. numbers, but I think they reflect, in general, global trends. Facebook was the top mobile app of 2013. That's based on average unique viewers over the year. And what's interesting about it is that, okay, so Facebook's number 1. Facebook owns Instagram. That's number 7. Well, what are the other top 7? All Google apps. Things like Gmail and Google Play and Google Search and Google Maps. What was kind of interesting also, I thought, was the second fastest growing app over the year was Apple Maps. So certainly something that people at least were going back to, or kind of forgetting that they were mad at it in the first place and just using it because maybe they got a new iDevice and there's that Maps app right on the home screen. And you forget that maybe you like Google Maps or something else better. Top 3 video brands, YouTube, Vivo, and Yahoo all lost some average unique viewers over the year. Not too many, but it's kind of interesting to see that in general, those top brands were trending downward. I don't know. I guess after all of this, I look at all these numbers and charts and everything, and I go, Facebook is really the number 1 mobile app with all of the options we have out there. We're so boring and predictable. Will, is this any that surprise you?
Boring and predictable, Sarah. That is me. It's the British mindset. No, I think what's really fascinating about this data is that 29% of US households have a tablet, right? And tablets didn't exist 3 years ago, right? The iPad basically invented the current tablet market in 2010. And to think that it's gotten to the stage of being a piece of technology that's launched and got to 30% market penetration in 3 years is absolutely staggering. And likewise, smartphones, right? Again, the iPhone in 2007 basically reinvented the smartphone market, and 65% now of American cell phone users have smartphones. And they're just staggering numbers that really speak to the fact that technology is evolving quicker than we have ever seen it evolve before, and it's a really exciting time to be interested and involved in technology. But I think when it comes to the actual apps that are involved, I think I was looking at the top 10 list, and it kind of reflects my own viewing. My own usage. Facebook is probably the #1 app that I use, Google Maps for sure. What was really interesting for me was Google Search. I don't know a single person that uses the Google Search app. Like, you just open up your browser and search. I don't even know what you would use the Google Search app for. Like, why would you go to an app to search something that's going to open in your browser when you can just search it in your browser? So that one slightly baffles me. Otherwise, I think probably the other interesting one in the top 10 is Instagram, right, which basically didn't really exist 18 months ago and is now one of the top 10 things to do in the world. The pace of this change is phenomenal.
I think the success of Google Search has to do with Android, and basically Google now is built around Google Search. It's the app that you use when you do voice search. Google Now and Google Search are kind of two different things. Essentially,
Jason,
they play hand in hand.
Is that some kind of mobile operating system?
It's this weird thing.
On
yeah, you wouldn't understand, Will, but it's this weird thing.
Understand.
Apparently, it's very popular in Europe, I'm told.
That's hilarious. I use Google Search all the time on my iPad, actually. And I use Google, obviously, on my Android device. The reason why, because Google Now is baked into Google Search. Yeah. It has all the functionality that you would have in an Android device. So if you say, Google, remind me to take out the garbage on Wednesday night. It's doing it right now. That kind of thing, it works better than Siri at times. I know Sarah mentioned a tip sometime. I think it was either an iPad today or it was on i5, just saying, you tell Siri, launch Google, and then you tell Google what to do, because all my life's in Google anyway.
Yeah, that does work.
And that's why I think people are using that a lot more. It also could be why people are using Apple Maps. The iOS 7 adoption was something like 70% of North America, and you could say, Siri, directions to Twit or something, and that's baked in as the default app. So I think that might be the other reason why maps are seeing such an uptick.
I find this whole thing frightening. The fact that we are going backwards in software diversity. We are consolidating our information under a very few companies who I find to be less trustworthy all the time. Look at this top smartphone apps of 2013 and maybe re-examine where you're keeping your data. You might want to switch your mail provider. You might want to switch your video provider. You might want to not give Google and Facebook all this control over everything they know about you. That's my harbinger of doom look at this Nielsen data. On that cheery note, let's talk about some cool AirTouch stuff. You can just start pointing at lights and turn them on with your mind.
Yeah, there's
it's not your mind.
It's a company called Point Grab, and they have a couple of demo videos out right now. They're expected to show their technology off at CES. There's two technologies from Point Grab. One is called Point Switch. If you're watching the video version of this, you'll see a person interacting with gadgets from any angle at any distance. So in this video, you can see a lady. She's going to draw her shades down by pointing in the air. Apparently, it even works in the dark. This is supposed to allow you to have gestures to control pretty much anything. And this next one, she's turning on a light. It kind of looks like witchcraft, because she's just pointing at it and looks very surprised when things work, but that's a whole other issue. There's also another technology called AirTouch, which gives you touch-like operation of appliances from a distance that would support air writing in the air. So let's say you're changing channels on your television, you could draw the number 3 in the air, and then you'd be able to actually change that channel. AirTouch looks like it's a tiny device on top of that PC. So if you're watching the video here, you can see it's like a tiny little, maybe a 2-inch device. It kind of looks like a mini Connect, if you want to look at it that way. And in the video, according to the videos, Point Grab says AirTouch uses depth information. It looks to measure your eyes, your finger, and the device, and it figures out the distance to see what you are looking at. So when you choose something, it's actually supposed to work. Point Grab says that you're going to see products with this technology baked in early next year, and there will be demos at CES. Well, a new way to interact with PCs and TVs, like you can draw in the air. Are you psyched to be like a wizard boy?
Coming from the land of Harry Potter, as I do, where magic is just an everyday occurrence, I could not give two hoots about this. It looks absolutely stupid. I'm not a big fan of Kinect in the first place. The whole swiping things around with your arms, Minority Report kind of style thing, it looks a little bit too much like hard work. The video shows someone basically typing on a virtual keyboard on a TV using their fingers. I don't believe that's ever going to work. And I think that I'm much more interested in things like voice control, which seems not only more practical, but a lot more Star Trek-like. I just can't see, A, that this is going to work, and B, that I would ever want to do it, and C, that it's ever going to work.
I'm curious. They're supposed to show it off at CES. They're supposed to have products with it by the end of 2014. Curious to see what people say about how well it works in reality, because like you say, I just don't trust it. I have a Leap Motion. It's impressive, but if you try to use it for everyday productivity things, it's always like, well, now where am I supposed to point exactly? That stuff isn't there. Maybe these guys have cracked it. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be so much
in front of your TV, right, or in front of your computer. Like, if you want something, if you want to have a system in your house where I can turn on any light, you know, I can dim it up and down by sort of waving my hands around. I don't want to have to stand in front of the TV to do it. If I'm going to stand in a certain place to turn a light on and off, I might as well stand next to a light switch.
Well, there'll be two different technologies. One is actually for PCs where you can interact with things like Windows 8, but they're saying that there are going to be products like a lamp, so you don't have to be at the TV to turn it on. You can just point to the lamp. I'm pointing at you right now, camera. It's not turning on or off or doing anything yet.
I see myself doing this, point, forget it, and just getting up and going and turning
That's
on.
how you accidentally turn off everything. This is the off check.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like
or I tell
waving
someone,
it's going,
Oops, I should turn it on.
be quiet.
yeah. Expelliarmus. It's not a good look.
Okay. If I'm sitting on my couch, I'm trying to think of like what's really inconvenient where I would just rather point at my TV. I do have a couple overhead lights that just aren't, I can't sort of just get them from where I may be enjoying a pint of ice cream on my couch. So that would be cool if I could dim lights by just pointing at the TV that I'm already watching. But yeah, it seems like the actual practical use case here is pretty limited. Okay, we've got lights. What else?
Your automated shades, which we all have, clearly.
Yeah, automated shades. I guess if you could like preheat the oven to make cookies, that'd be cool. But again, this seems like, well, we're getting into the automated home anyway. Products like that are going to continue to come out. I'm not sure that this is the best well-baked idea.
Yeah, the thing...
A half-bake.
I'm
That's
just
a really
not
bad
confident
pun,
it's going to
Sarah,
work.
given your baking analogy.
Yeah.
If it works, I'm going to love it. The ability to point and turn on a light, yes, absolutely want that. I guess I'm skeptical when I see these slick videos that it's going to work as well as they say. But if it does, I'll be blown away. I definitely see the use case of being like, oh, it's getting evening, boom, turn on the light. Love that.
I absolutely agree with you, Tom. If it's about the execution, it looks great in the video. Can I actually use it? There's supposed to be all these advances in technology. This looks like a futuristic thing. If and when it works and it's not confused by a cat or a teddy bear moving or something, that'll be great. But the question is,
teddy bear?
Yes, a teddy bear, like Teddy Ruxpin. It moves, it does things. Anyway, I guess you had to have kids.
Or a Furby.
Furby, yes,
Yeah.
it has eyes. But the point is, like, if this works, it'll be fantastic. There are technologies I've doubted before that have surprised me. I'm hoping this is going to be a surprise. So I'm being optimistic.
I'm going to try to be optimistic with you then. Stop. I'll suspend my doubts until CES.
Optimize, Tom.
And randomize. Hey, we had two things up for vote today, and one ran away with it. 73% of you voted, in the live audience way anyway, for the McLaren vehicle company replacing windshield wipers with a force field of sound waves.
Yes.
According to Geek.com, McLaren Auto's chief designer has hinted at using a new system that takes 30 kilohertz ultrasound waves, spreads them across the windshield, keeps any kind of debris or rain or snow off your windshield with no moving parts.
Oh my gosh. Want.
Yeah, in
McLaren.
contrast to the previous story, I could not want this more. This is amazing.
No other reason to want McLaren
Windscreen
whatsoever.
wipers are annoying if you live in England and it rains all the time. They are a real pain. I love the idea of having ultrasonic windscreens. Come on. And it also seems practical. And I also want the McLaren to go with it, but that might be slightly harder to get.
I mean, the McLaren, I actually rode in one. I didn't know that a McLaren was a real thing until just a few months ago. And I rode in one and I was like, oh my gosh, that's why rich people buy these really fancy cars. It's so fun. So if you have that coupled with the negating the need for actual windshield wipers because of sound waves, I mean, you kind of have the perfect car. And it's a 2-seater, so you never have to worry about having to take everybody in the car with you next time you go on a road trip.
Not to mention, when I was a kid, all I ever wanted was a force field. And now you can have a force field. That's so cool.
Exactly.
Although I have to say that this would be really amazing on a Tesla, right? This seems like the sort of futuristic thing that Tesla should totally have.
And with all the money you'll save replacing wiper blades, you can afford a McLaren side view mirror, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what wiper blades you're buying, Tom. They're
Hot Wheels
not going to add up to much of a McLaren.
Maybe the interior being replaced or vacuumed. Probably vacuumed. Let's see what's on the calendar.
Let's see. All right. Well, we've got an earnings report. That's Oracle's earnings will come out tomorrow. That's December 18th. And looking into January, LG is launching its first 4K monitor with a 31-inch ultra-wide screen panel. They keep coming, people. What do you think?
They're coming. You can't stop them. And then there will be 4K content from Amazon and Netflix. And then we'll all be buying new televisions.
And then we're all going to need big, big living rooms in order to make sense of it. Or small living rooms, I guess, because you get up real close. I don't know. I don't. It's just good quality.
And nothing they do with 4K will ever stop the email. Do we have one?
Incoming message.
We could see these emails in 4K in the future, Tom. But I've got an email from Josh here in Greenville, South Carolina. It says, hey, TNT crew, you guys didn't seem all into Twitter rolling out tweets around you function, but let me tell you why I am. Like Tom, I used to use one of the third-party apps and did the same thing, and I found it immensely useful, not for finding out what was going on around me, but for finding out who was around me. It allowed me to browse local tweets and find interesting people that were worth following because they also mentioned things going on locally. To this day, half the people I follow came from this search method, and I engage with them the most. I look forward to using this feature in the native apps. Love the show.
Interesting, especially if you want like local people to follow. That's a good point. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate that. Got another email, Sarah. You want it?
Oh, of course I do. Hey, TNT crew. This one's from Chris in Cleveland. I was listening to episode 903, and I thought about a couple uses for Google's purchase of Boston Dynamics. That was the cool robots we were looking at yesterday. He says, first, I think they might be able to apply the algorithms behind the robotics movement in their self-driving car technology. I know their robots can move through a ton of different terrain types, like snow, definitely something that's missing from their current self-driving cars. Second, I could see Google doing something wild, like mounting Street View cameras on the back of big dogs and cheetahs and letting them loose into areas of Street View that cars could never access.
Wow.
Those are the robot dogs and robot cheetahs, by the way.
Right,
we're not actually going to harm, African
You're not
wildlife.
just going to mount a camera to the top of a cheetah and set it loose.
No.
I can think of another use for Google's purchase of Boston Dynamics, and that's taking over the freaking world. This is like the plot to Terminator. It's Skynet all over again. I'm telling you, people, the apocalypse starts here.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Well, in the few days that we have left to exist before the robots take over, Will, what's going on at channelflip.com?
Oh, it's all super exciting stuff, Tom. Of course, it will matter not a jot when we are bowing into our new robot overlords. But in the off chance that you want to have a look at a few things that we're making, you can do a couple of things. You can follow me on Twitter. I am at Will Harris. That's Will with one L, which makes me infinitely more Googleable. You can also check out all the shows that we're making at channelflip.com. In particular, we have a YouTube channel that we're making with a funny comedian called Ricky Gervais. It's youtube.com/Ricky Gervais. And right now we're doing 12 Days of Christmas with Ricky's character Derek, which you guys might know from the Netflix original series of the same name. So if you want some extra Derek that isn't on Netflix, go and hit up youtube.com/Ricky Gervais.
That guy's funny. No doubt about it. 100% funny.
He is occasionally mildly humorous.
He is. Yes. That too. Thank you, Will. Always a pleasure. Thanks for being on, man.
Pleasure. At Will Harris on Twitter.
Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover at our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. You can also email us, tnt@twit.tv. Give us a call. Leave us a voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. And visit our website at twit.tv/TNT. We'll be back tomorrow with Rafe Needleman as our guest. See you then.